To Israel's invasion of Gaza. Israeli tanks are reported to have entered Gaza City now, and some small good news. The Israeli army managed somehow to find and rescue one hostage, a female soldier, Ori Megidish, now reunited with her family. But the Prime Minister, the Israeli Prime Minister, said there'd be no ceasefire, despite so many other hostages still being held, despite international pressure.
Calls for a ceasefire are calls for Israel to surrender to Hamas, to surrender to terrorism, to surrender to barbarism. That will not happen. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bible says that there is a time for peace and a time for war. This is a time for war.
Joining me from Israel is Major Doron Spielman, a spokesman for the Israel Defense Forces. Major Spielman, thank you so much for your time. How was this soldier rescued?
So thank you, Andrew, for having me. Well, as we know, we've expanded our ground operations over the last few days, and have combined military forces in the Gaza Strip, which includes our armored divisions, our infantry divisions, also intelligence and special forces and aerial. And this is what we're doing. We're eliminating Hamas, and we're acting on active intelligence. And this is a small ray of hope that Ori Megidish is now, we were able to free her. It was based on intelligence. It was the specific mission of the operation. And now she's home with her family. And getting her out wasn't easy. As we know, Hamas has embedded itself, like you explained so carefully. They've been planning this for years. But this is what it is for us to be there on the ground. There's no replacement for our forces being able to act there and free the hostages.
Yeah, unfortunately, still more than 200 to go. Meanwhile, Shani Louk is an Israeli-German woman who was at a music festival and Hamas terrorists attacked it. Later paraded half naked in Gaza, has now been identified as, in fact, being murdered. How? And how, was her body found? Is that how you established this?
So yes, her family reported that there was very strong, unfortunately, extremely brutal, she was brutally murdered, fragments that were able to be pieced together in the most grotesque way, and therefore her death was ascertained and reported to her family. She was, one of those hundreds that was at the Nova dance festival in southern Israel, having a great time. So many people, so many kids, young kids, families are mourning their children, and that's what happened to Shani Louk. As you mentioned, there are still 238 hostages that Hamas is holding in the most brutal way. And, this was all scripted in advance. You reported it so fairly. This is exactly what Hamas has been planning, right? Before they ever launched the massacre in Israel, they knew we would respond, and they knew that they would set this stage whereby they would distract the world's attention by trying to force blame on Israel for the death of their own civilians, which, of course, they premeditatedly put in the line of fire. And that's what we're looking at now. But there is good reporting out there, such as yours. And on the ground operational side, we're moving forward with our mission.
But it was said that a skull fragment was how you identified her from DNA. Does that mean that she was decapitated? I don't want to be... I think we need to be actually frank about what's going on. Was she decapitated? Why skull fragments? It seems quite odd.
Look, without getting into the coroner's details in something like this, which obviously the families are suffering, and what I can tell you is the brutality that Hamas used to kill these people was in the most medieval sense of the word. Again, it brings that the only accurate image is ISIS. You're talking blunt weapons and knives and guns. I was at the scene myself and saw the knives with the blood on them left at the scene. This is firsthand, absolutely face-to-face, zero distance killing of children, of babies, massacred. Again, I think it's hard for a rational person to actually understand this, but when we see civilians, we see young women and children and men. When Hamas sees these people, they are not human any longer. And it's not only Israelis, it's also, the Palestinians in Gaza. I think they see them simply as props on the stage of this theater of evil, and they just move them or kill them how they wish to.
Just finally, what kind of resistance are your forces meeting in Gaza?
So as expected, we are seeing Hamas terrorists coming out of tunnels in massive numbers, firing at our troops from all locations. A number of these in northern Gaza we were able to take out from the air, such as a lot of their sniper positions, but they are fighting there. Then they retreat into their tunnels, come back out, launching a massive attack. They've been waiting and they're hungry to kill our soldiers. But we have very carefully prepared for this. We've had the time to do it. We've had the time to try and move the people of northern Gaza to southern Gaza. And we're having excellent success in terms of hitting their terror targets. We've eliminated a number of their top commanders over the last 48 hours and destabilized. The destabilisation of Hamas is beginning.
Major Doron Spielman, thank you so much indeed for your time.